Henrik is a very stubborn player, and he has his own way of thinking about the game, which is a bit different than like the standard way, I guess. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good thing because it gives new perspective and helps everyone like just be more open-minded and more willing to take, like, say, certain risks or look for other plays. And yeah, I think he's a pretty good teammate.
A pretty good, stubborn teammate. All right, that sounds great. Now we're back and gearing up for our next matchup, which pits Golden Guardians versus OpTic Gaming, and it is time to get things rolling with a roster rundown. Selecting on the blue side, it's Golden Guardians. That means it's Hauntzer in the top lane. Contractz in the jungle, Froggen flying around in mid, FBI at bot lane for this game, and Huhi at support. With Coach Jimmy and Pollock, yes indeed.
Yeah, Huhi doesn't play that role, or does he? Let's find out. Scoring off against them on the red side today, it's going to be OpTic Gaming. In the top lane, Dhokla. In the jungle, Meteos. Mid laner, Crown. Support and bot lane, going to be Arrow and Big with coaches Zabutin and Croissant.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Despite OpTic Gaming coming off a 1-1 week, it's important to remember that that was after fielding Scarlet in the mid lane for week 4.
Yeah, I mean, he did well. They took down TSM. That's pretty exciting for the debut in the LCS, but it is the return of Crown, OpTic superstar, and they're against a team close to them in the standings. So this is a good shot for them to kind of close the gap towards those top teams.
Yeah, especially in this point, we'll now see who they go up against is Golden Guardians, who are fielding a new bot lane squad for this game in FBI and Huhi.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see this because the Golden Guardians bot lane has been a bit of a question mark, for them throughout the season. They've been having some struggles with Ole and Deathly, and now FBI. This is a player that a lot of our Australian casters love to talk about, how incredible he has been. So getting to see him here on the LCS stage, and also Huhi, who last we saw him was an LCS mid laner. He has now made the transition to support, and I think it's incredible to see him back on the LCS stage this quickly after role swapping. So really, really excited to see what kind of a flavor he's going to bring to the LCS stage. He's a guy who, when I have watched him in solo queue, is roaming nonstop. It feels like he really is the kind of player that loves to get early Moby Boots, go top, and try to mix things up. So we'll see if they can shore up some of the weaknesses that Golden Guardians has been having in the bottom lane.
Yep, we do see Huhi playing some interesting champions back in the Academy League. I believe he had the Gragas spot lane and whatnot, pulling out a few others, so it's awesome to see what he brings down there. And you're right about the roaming. I remember Huhi on his Ziggs would be roaming all over the place to get some bombs out on the map. So we'll see how him and FBI take to that lane. Hearing Hauntzer talk about Froggen in the beginning of this one was quite interesting. And I think next interview question for Froggen is, what is this different way that you think about the game as opposed to the standard way? And maybe he'll just be like, what's Hauntzer talking about? But it's interesting. You always have seen Henrik as kind of a different player. He can do things, and then he can kind of wow you in unsuspecting situations. So Froggen has been kind of that player you always have your eye on in a game.
Yeah, certainly, and I think we see a little bit of that difference. Even throughout his champion pool, he's been a guy who, has really loved some of these less popular champions. Playing a lot of Veigar, playing a lot of Anivia, playing a lot of these sorts of champions in solo queue and as well as in professional play. So, sometimes you can kind of have a different approach to the game because that's what best fits your champion pool, and that's what fits your play style. Whereas, perhaps if you're playing some of the more, meta aggressive things, then maybe, a roaming style suits you better or whatever. But it is definitely, I think, an advantage to have multiple viewpoints on how the game can be played, because you're less likely to get stumped on why you're losing and why things are a certain way that they are, as long as people are willing to actually accept and listen to the different viewpoints and kind of take the different sides into consideration. Because if you just have one person saying do A and the other person saying do B, and you're both just kind of butting heads, well, then you don't really get anywhere.
That's cool. I think I'd do A. We'd go for the A one.
Yeah.
Just off the bat.
Better grade.
It's going to win. There you go. Better grade.
Yeah.
That's right. You go for the S.
That's true.
Zale's always with the S. It's impeccable. It's impeccable. So we'll have to see what the teams have for each other with a bit of the switch-ups coming in. Crown now back in the mid lane for the team. Scarlet fitting in very well for OpTic in the few days that he had to play. The team loved having him there, and he's been showing very well in the Academy team also. So I'm sure we will see him moving up quite soon in the next few seasons.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to track. But for now, Crown back in the seat here. Certainly going to be back to kind of good health. He was taking a bit of a break due to illness in the last week of LCS, but 2 weeks have passed. He had some time off with Rift Rivals as well, so hopefully back feeling good. And we are into Champ Select here again. A lot of focus towards the support. Also TF, kind of that respect band over towards Crown, who had been using it to great success, has already played it twice in the LCS. Both of those were wins.
It was a scary pick when you know this one has to be taken away from a certain player. They can control the game completely, or at least really make yours a living hell in that lane. One more ban here for OpTic. Golden Guardians could tie OpTic Gaming here with a win here. OpTic looking to move to 6-3 in their record. Really one of the best that they've been looking at here throughout the season. They've been able to find a great stride here in the Summer Split.
Yeah, certainly the case. I mean, they're just one game back of first, right? So if they win here against Golden Guardians, they're going to be sitting tied, I believe, with both TL, C9, and TSM, who have all gotten those 6 wins thus far today. So certainly a big opportunity for them to keep pace. People have been talking so much about those big 3, about TL, about C9, about TSM, and expecting them to be the world's representatives, expecting them to be at the top of the table. But OpTic has been hanging around and continue to pick up these wins here, and people are going to be taking more and more notice.
Small clump at the top. Just a tiny clump.
Prestigious clump.
Prestigious clump, indeed.
Not just anyone can join.
All right, Meteos with a pickup, maybe the AD, the jungler. So okay, interesting. We'll show your hand right away.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time Aatrox doesn't go jungle anyway, so you're usually not really tricking too many people. We heard them kind of talking about on the desk just earlier after the last game, but Aatrox J4 likely going to be your top side. It could get flexed around, but it is unlikely. But that does give over some major power picks here to Golden Guardians. Yuumi going to be grabbed up. They already have Sejuani. So this will be the Yuumi Lucian bot lane. We've seen Smoothie as well as Sven using this a couple times. Has been quite powerful. We already know that Lucian can be fairly aggressive, dashing in, getting involved.
Yeah, I love Lucian.
And now you have a lot of the speed up as well from that Yuumi to kind of move you around the fight that much faster. And if the Lucian is able to stay on top of people, you can utilize that Yuumi ultimate to be locking them down, rooting them up, for your culling, for all that damage to be kind of guaranteed.
It's a nice little movement you have to place that final chapter in the right spot with him. Nautilus. Big boys on the side of OpTic Gaming this time. And you get a bit of damage out of this already too, so what more damage are you going to thread in? I like this comp.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going to want some magic damage in there. This is very physical heavy thus far with the J4 and the Aatrox. The Nautilus grabbed again as the answer to Yuumi. Talked about this a little bit last game, but certainly that guaranteed point and click engage. A lot of people do feel that the weakness of Yuumi is mostly in the all-ins, because if you're attached, you're not adding the auto attack damage. And if you are not attached, you're very easily burst down. So they certainly have the ability to look for the hard engage there. But Golden Guardians can now target Arrow and deny some of these bot lane picks that will coincide well with that. They've already banned away the Kalista. I would not be surprised to see something along the lines of a Draven banned out here as well to really deny some of these strong all-in comps that OpTic can have if they want to deny something that's more about the scaling and team fighting. Sivir also a really good option to ban out, especially alongside these 3 melee champions that can really make use of that move speed that Sivir's ultimate will give you.
See what they have. They're considering. At least they're just taking the time. Always nice to slow things down.
Yeah, and sometimes you want to just take that time to talk a couple picks ahead. Even if okay, 100% our ban is going to be Sivir, boom.
If they
you can be talking about, exactly, all right, what's your top laner if they pick blah, 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 right? And you can kind of talk a couple picks ahead and utilize the time to do that. It is going to be a Yasuo ban, wow.
So they kind of ban a composition as opposed to just a single champion.
Yeah, very interesting. So they already do have some knockups. It is possible, Arrow with a bit of a smile.
That was Arrow. Yeah, it seems like it. You're right.
It could have been, an Arrow Yasuo. Again, a lot of Yasuo priority. A lot of people trying to pick this up, learn this. We did even hear in the previous interview talking about the fact that a lot of players are trying to pick up and expand their champion pools. Yasuo was so big at Rift Rivals. So with that gone, Draven is the option. I talked about that as a possible ban. That is left up. So Draven Nautilus, extremely strong 2v2 duo. Definitely has the potential to all in, to run down these guys. You also have to remember, J4 has an even stronger early game gank than that of Sejuani, which we saw Acadian pulling off last game. So targeting that Yuumi early on certainly could be the name of the game here for OpTic.
Yep.
Golden Guardians bottom lane should know that has the potential to come though and be playing very carefully. And Fiora here for Hauntzer. This is a really strong matchup actually into Aatrox. If you go Grasp Fiora, you can go Sorcery Secondary if you want to kind of go for that, take Mana Flow ban, and it's just about actually queuing on cooldown, keeping Grasp up on the minions, and actually harassing that Aatrox with your Grasp procs, with the Vitals. Fiora is also very good at actually dodging out on the sweet spots from those Aatrox knockups, and you can very consistently parry the third Q for that massive damage on the sweet spot. You can always get that parry off, which is actually going to turn that around on the Aatrox, allow you to get the stun off. So certainly this is not about team fighting. This is very much about the split push here for Fiora, but a very strong 1v1 matchup. And you know, with the Sejuani, certainly has some potential there to look for the 2v2, but this feels like now you're kind of getting pulled in multiple directions here for Contractz. If you're trying to protect that bottom lane, you also have to play around the Fiora to enable the split push, enable success in that matchup. So we'll see where these junglers want to go, because I think a lot of the game is going to be decided here by Meteos and by Contractz, and if they can really get their lanes going.
And we did see Dhokla kind of trending towards that Poppy, now recently expanding his pool. We've seen the Jaces, one other Aatrox before, so this will be that second one for him in the Summer Split. Gotta be aware of the Vitals against Hauntzer for this matchup. Sometimes we've seen those tight situations, you reveal a Vital, you completely lose a trade. So it'll be great to watch that lane and go back and forth. Like you said, Contractz will be trying to watch all the lanes, as he has quite a bit of things to do here in this one to make sure it goes smoothly. And we're gonna see Golden Guardians versus OpTic. Gabe and Golden Guardians can tie OpTic with a win here. OpTic can tie the top of the table with a win here.
Very exciting for both these two teams. Golden Guardians, a new look for the bottom lane. And on the other side here, OpTic with their superstar back, looking to catch up to the top of the table, being that tie for first.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. New sound pack. All right, we are off the fountain, and we are running, we are gunning. At least if you're in the bot lane and you're FBI or Froggen in mid. And maybe not arrow, it's just blades. But we are ready. Let's see where we start out.
All right, so it is actually Grasp here for the Fiora, kind of as expected. Dhokla going to take Grasp to match. This is mostly about the lane. You are able to actually proc that Grasp with your Q, so procking the Vital, procking the Grasp does allow you to have a very strong lane phase. But I do believe you took inspiration for secondary, so this is kind of a bit more of that scaling option. Not going to go for the mana flow ban, but it is a similar idea. Would not be surprised to see Biscuits taken. Would not be surprised to see CDR as well, which can set up the Fiora very, very well for the later game.
Nice safe setup.
Minions have spawned.
No one getting too crazy. Just stopwatch, I believe. We're getting to the bottom. Yeah, it's ticking up, so we'll have that. And we have a quick sideline report with Pastry for some inside info.
Thank you very much, Riv. I had to talk to Jimmy, the coach of Golden Guardians, and just wanted to ask him about the swap between the two duo lanes there in bot. He said that they think they have 4 really competent bot lane players, and they're just trying to evaluate kind of how they're all going and build up some flexibility moving in towards playoffs. And Jimmy also said that, you know what, FBI is kind of nuts as well. So I'll certainly be looking for him to pop off the Rift this game. Back to you guys for the call.
Thank you, Pastry, and we'll see if he can pop off in that high noon Lucian in the bot lane with Huhi behind him. 2 very skilled players. And I know FBI, even meeting him at MSI, is always vocal about showing how good he is. We even have lost our other Australian player that's come over, say, not too many amazing players have come out of that Aussie region, and everybody's wondering when it's going to happen. These 2 guys want to be that. We'll see FBI getting tested right now. And we'll see if they can hold strong in this lane to put that kind of Aussie power forward.
Yeah, I mean, a very early ignite there from Big. So the kind of worry here right now is for Golden Guardians if Jarvan was to show up. But at the same time, you've blown that ignite. Lucian's going to heal back to full, so your all-in kill potential now is much lower. They did use this lane pressure, though, for Meteos to come over, take away that red buff. So Meteos just going red to red here. And trying to get that pressure going for himself and set himself up for that 3 buff, which will be secured right now.
Arrow and Big quickly pushing FBI and Huhi under the turret. Contractz won't have time to stay as he is cleaning up the jungle. As mid lane continuously just slow farms it out. Arrow's going to be building up these stacks. We'll keep pace on that to make sure when he's cashing in and how much for.
You can also see press the attack here taken by the Draven. And this is exactly what I'm talking about there. It's such an easy parry because you can actually set yourself in the sweet spot. And then if you're going to get knocked up, that guarantees the parry stun as long as you're targeting it correctly onto the Aatrox. And you are just going to be looking to harass with the grasp nonstop. Trying to Q towards the Vital, you get the Vital proc, you get your Q damage as well as the grasp proc, and it's a very annoying lane. People really do like to think of Fiora as this super late game scaling champion that can't do much early, but you actually have a really strong laning phase if you do go for this type of setup. It's not about bursting someone 100 to 0, it's just about actually sustaining them down and harassing them constantly. And it can become pretty scary when you kind of always have in the back of your head, all right, well, I'm losing lane early, and Fiora is going to outscale me, so...
Hey man,
Jungle, can I get some help up here?
Used to be worse when you just slapped something with Fiora and got a bunch of health back anyway, so this is tame pain.
Yeah, at least you have to slap a specific place.
See if we can get that top Vital now, as he looks like he did proc that back one. But Dhokla's keeping it safe. Well, we did give it to him. It's not going to be terrible. Next one's on the bottom. A nice dodge there, as we were talking about, as he keeps the wave nice. Even cannons have reset. And they're in the middle for each lane.
Jarvan is heading up there, though, and this is actually not warded out. There's no parry available here for Hauntzer, so he's likely going to have to flash the knockup.
Flash is there. Meteos is going to walk in as far as he can to draw that flash and then flag and drag. Oh, but it's going to be the dash from Hauntzer. Does he get the outplay? Gets the Vital heal as well under the turret. Saves himself from a Meteos kill.
Oh, Meteos could have actually flashed his knockup and I think got that kill. He flag and drag then flashed afterwards, though, which meant Hauntzer was not CC'd and was able to actually proc back the grasp and maybe the Vital as well. I'm not sure about that one, but getting that additional healing kept him alive. So a bit of a execution there from the OpTic duo. Hauntzer going to get out alive, has a CS advantage, picks up the whole wave, and honestly a decent buy as well. Cull plus the Doran's Blade is going to set himself up pretty well with this kind of triple laning item.
It's a good eye on the grasp as well. It's a good heal back. Wasn't expecting to be that much at the time, but Hauntzer knowing exactly when his passives are up, getting that fight in onto Meteos. He's still healthy enough to stay out for a bit, but Meteos does back, starts to pick up that Skirmisher Saber to the Chilling Smite of Contractz, and the junglers are out and running once again. Bot laners still have yet to back just yet as they stay in each other's face. Not too bad trading down there, 46 to 42 so far, but Arrow is going to be a big Draven as we come to mid-game.
Yeah, farming very evenly, and you always have to talk about those Draven stacks. You know, if he's able to cash out or not can really decide a game sometimes here for Draven. We do see Contractz heading down to that bottom side. They were TPing back in with FBI and Huhi here, trying to actually delay bases, I do believe. And Contractz was just kind of there to protect them, but Meteos now going to get spotted, should be able to just walk his way out, and he is a level up, has done a good job, taking away a couple of these camps, took away the Raptors, took away the red buff earlier as well, and as a result, has a bit of an experience lead.
The fight over this pink ward will last. Two good forward wards here as OpTic knows what's going on in that Raptor camp side of the map. As we return down towards that bot lane. BF sword here for Arrow as he just looks to keep those stacks going, and when he does hit an axe, Golden Guardians will feel it. Safe farm under the turret. We'll see what FBI backs, or actually does here. They just are pushed. They already did back, so Scepter for him. They stay healed. He teleported in. I'm just a few seconds behind.
Nice little hook does go in there, but FBI sitting very, very healthy, so not too much worry about any potential all-in just yet here. And now, though, Big is actually looking for it again.
Shield coming up, gonna get a quick auto attack down. They want to go right on FBI. The flash is there. He uses it. A nice dodge onto the hook. And this is the damage we were talking about. That BF sword just onto Draven is gonna start putting in the pain with press the attack once they get it stacked up.
Yeah, Meteos is here as well, but FBI and Huhi have just backed all the way up. But that is all their summoners down, and they have no teleport, so pretty big deal to be able to actually get that out. And at the same time, Arrow still has his teleport available. He saved that, and they may be able to get a turret plate or two here. But just narrowly actually avoiding that death as that flash hook did not connect from Big. Could have been the cash out. And let's see this one more time. So Big just walking straight up into melee range, gets the root down. Auto reset with the shield as well. Flash looks for the hook. Barely doesn't get it. As FBI, nice little sidestep. almost got him with that big hitbox.
Actually so crazy, the catch potential of a Draven and a Nautilus. You're refreshing your axes on catch, Adrenaline Rush again. When you have a long lane, that's a party for a Draven to chase down his enemy. Great play there by OpTic. They're going to go ahead and be able to pick up the dragon. Now we see a little bit of rotation from Big. He doesn't go right back to the bottom. We'll see if they can activate anything here in mid or just play safety as he
Potential
rolls on
dive
through the
here.
jungle.
He is going to be spotted on the pink, though, so Dhokla should be able to back up. We'll see if he can get out.
1, 2 attacks, no hits from Hauntzer, so no more procs on the stun for Contractz E. They do blow his flash, and they may rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and Fiora's already winning this lane very heavily. I mean, look at the farm already. You know, 26 CS in the advantage, and you traded Flash as the jungler. So Hauntzer, you know, now is going to have his Flash coming up a lot faster. And this is a very tough lane to win in that 1v1, but Meteos kind of has to decide, do you want to spend your time up there? Do you want to play around the Draven? There's some tough decisions to make because if you leave Dhokla isolated in this 1v1, he's going to be losing it and he's going to be getting outscaled. But Aatrox does have an easier team fight to execute, so that's kind of what your saving grace is. You're going to be looking to group and try to get things done with a squad, whereas Fiora can be very difficult. You know, one missed parry in a 5v5 and you'll just explode.
Much more of a conditional fight that you have to make work. Goal for him, though. Hauntzer feels super safe, and he's going the investment route this game. Feels like he can just farm that up. Yeah, easy peasy. Meteos, maybe Scuttle. He doesn't have the pinch on bot lane here, so his escape would be over the wall if he does. Nah, Big gets there in time, and they can keep him safe. Power in numbers. Rotating back to lane. I know you're there, but I'm still going to Valkyrie right by you.
Yep, just going to drop the packages. Didn't have too much time remaining on it. You can see Froggen and Crown farming fairly evenly. About one wave in the advantage is Crown here. Both these mid laners farming at a very nice clip, and now Hauntzer looking for Dhokla a little bit again, just trying to wear him down. It's all about the constant grass procs. And the other thing about this is if you're in a melee matchup like this and you're unimpeded, you're going to be able to proc that grass quite frequently. So he's already used, proc that grass 15 times, which does end up being, a decent amount of health, right? You get 5 extra health every time you do proc it. So it really does start to add up throughout the game, especially if you want to go some of these more semi-tanky builds along the lines of, Cleaver and this sort of thing.
Pushing in, final chapter's just gonna miss. Arrow's out of range, but he's walking into it, but he dodges the Glacial Prison as well. So much left and right, the Comet, he doesn't die! And the fight back onto GGS is going well in the way of OpTic. That's gonna be all of GGS falling to the bot lane. 3 down there, and OpTic are feeling good.
Oh, that feels so bad if you're Golden Guardians, though. Not only does Arrow not die, he got first blood and the cash out here, so Arrow is going to be loaded. Meteos waiting for this counter gang. Arrow kites back towards him. Ultimate through the whole team. Side steps the ultimate as well. There's the cash in. And Arrow is just monstrously rich now. He has 1,400 gold out of FBI. That is insane.
Ridiculous.
He's already got his Bloodthirster.
Yep. Bloodthirster straight in. Blade of the Rune King not finished up yet. FBI sitting on 150 gold, so got another 500 or so to go before you can finish that up.
Everyone's had these games against the Draven where the Draven gets really fed early and gets that Bloodthirster.
Yeah. And
you just start to feel like you can't out DPS it. Like, it just heals too much. So, Meteos even be able to take that away.
Skirmisher Saber onto Contractz. He knows he can't tussle with that, and he is out of there. Just up to the top lane for safety, and doesn't look like anybody really has the offensive right now for GGS. Well, Hauntzer still having a good top lane, and they can look to him for some resolve here as they start to break out of those.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot kind of on the shoulders of Hauntzer here, who's having a great 1v1. Certainly has been having, I think, a really strong split, has been a great laner throughout. Picking heavily for the lane oftentimes and really able to make it work. So even if they're going to be kind of wanting to fight away from the Draven, that's something that Fiora can really accomplish. As long as you can get vision for the Fiora, you can look to split push out and kind of wait for your other members to kind of farm up here and try to scrape your way back towards parity. But certainly you're going to be wanting to avoid this 2v2 unless you can have some sort of a miracle engage, because Draven is going to be so hard to take down.
So he's back up to here. Sitting on 54 stacks again. Doesn't want to cash in just yet. Got to make the right choice. Don't spend it all. Don't spend it all in one place, right? Top side, a few plates going over to the side of Hauntzer. This is good gold to be picked up as he is the one you're looking for to turn these fights around. Turning is Dhokla, still down in CS, but he's got his Black Cleaver. He can be Aatrox for the team as it comes time.
Yep, yeah, he's still going to be able to kind of fulfill his role. It's just, you know, the 1v1 gets harder as the game goes on, harder and harder. So, you know, that is really the scariest part here. This Contract's going to be able to take away his red buff and back off. Hauntzer also just about to cash in on that call. So he's going to complete that call here very shortly, and you know, we'll be able to have a pretty nice base. Likely going to be grabbing up, you know, that Ravenous Hydra as his first buy. We can see pieces of that already have come in, and that call cash out does complete. And you can see he's 1,200 gold ahead himself.
No one wants to tempt. Just a few hits to see if anybody will bite fully on the Drake, but it is a very scary time right now. OpTic knows it can swing hard in the favor of GGS, and they don't want Arrow going down in this situation. He's playing right under the turret to make sure he is safe, and he'll get Big back in a second.
Yeah, and this is smart, exactly. Anytime Big is away warding or roaming, don't risk it, right? You know, you're in a great spot right now as the Draven. It's not worth.
You don't need it. He's already got a biscuit.
Exactly. It's not worth actually going for anything else. Oh, rude.
You aren't casting with Freak today. I gotta step in.
That's true,
right?
yeah.
Insert. That Drake's gonna be left alone for now, but FBI and team seem like they really want to activate something on the bot lane here, or at least make sure this turret doesn't go down. With the amount of pressure they continuously see, they feel like a counter is in order.
I mean, if they go for this, if Golden Guardian's engaged, Meteos is waiting, and he's going to be counter-ganking again.
They got to go pretty deep for this one if they use the package. Good damage going down on OpTic. Big's low, but he's going to use the stopwatch. Dhoklas into the fight. His crown is now coming down to throw out the soldiers, but is it going to be in time? Oh, GGS is already getting torn apart and put on the ground. Hauntzer into the fight, but he wants out right away. And it looks like he will finally make it. Froggen was already flying out of that one as soon as he soared in. The flight path changed immediately. And it looks like this turret will fall as much as GGS wanted to stop it.
Yeah. You see Meteos, right place, right time. Two counter ganks really have decided this game. Meteos has known exactly what Golden Guardians was waiting for. And both times he's in the brush, he's already waiting, and he does take it away. Oh, no, they did get that. So Smite goes down, so they are going to grab it. They still have the Rift Herald as well, and OpTic is now out to such a lead. You know, Hauntzer even TP's down to the bot lane, but it's quite a late TP, and the fight is already lost. He has to flash out as a result, so it's not even like Hauntzer was getting something on the other side of the map. That was just a complete loss for Golden Guardians, and let's watch this one more time.
The wards they're walking over.
Yep, the ward spotting this out. That ward over the wall was so big, and then Meteos just blast cones into the brush. He knows he's on a pink ward, so he's not spotted. And then it's just up to Big and Arrow to bait this. Hang around, wait until they are going to go in, and here it comes. Contractz shows up, and Meteos still waiting. They're all stacked up. Then he gets the knock-up, goes straight in. Big using that stopwatch to buy time. Arrow free-firing in that backline, getting so much damage out. And by the time Hauntzer arrives, the fight is already lost, so it's all he can do to just flash straight out and try to survive.
Now OpTic one step ahead to see. It looks like they're taking the strategy towards the top lane. 2-0 and 4 for Draven.
Yeah, I mean, they already got the mid lane turret as well during that replay with the Rift Herald. They dropped that, got the mid lane turret. Draven is on a rapid fire, plus the Bloodthirster at this point in the game is just absurdly strong.
2,200 gold ahead of FBI. It's like he gets 1,100 gold each time he cashes in.
I mean, it's not like he's playing against a Sivir where the Sivir is going to outscale you either, right? Lucian is more of that early mid-game style of champion, so you are really in tough. And it feels like it's going to be all eggs in the Hauntzer basket. You need to be buying time in a side lane, and you need to be creating pressure, and your team has to, at the same time, not be getting engaged on and dying if you're splitting. And OpTic have great engage, so that's going to be a lot easier said than done when there's a Nautilus, when there's Meteos here as well, that are all going to be looking to hard engage on your weak members. So we'll see if they're going to be able to pull that off. You know, at least for the side of Golden Guardians, Froggen is scaling up quite well, so Lucian may not match up, but the Corki is going to have a better chance of that, not quite as far behind, and does scale up really well into the late game on that Corki.
Right. And they have to get really far ahead if they even want to see a 1-3-1, because you said the weak members can't be any weaker.
Yeah.
They will get dove on immediately, no matter how much you try to tempt the fight and walk away. OpTic will keep running right through. So, see if OpTic now can keep this pace rolling, and if Golden Guardians can figure out a way to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Golden Guardians don't even contest. They're not even going to try to defend the turret. They know they're too weak. It's going to be all about Hauntzer trying to buy time. You know, you do have a really big CS lead still for Hauntzer.
Yeah.
This is kind of equalized a little bit by the global gold that Dhokla got from the turrets, as well as the kill and the couple assists. But still, Hauntzer's in a great position and does have the ability to kind of win this game through split push. You can see he's going to be likely building towards that Triforce with the dagger picked up on top of the Phage. So, you know, that is very, very strong split push style of build. With that Triforce, you're going to have the Sheen proc to be able to work down on turrets very quickly if you ever get access to them. But as long as Dhokla just plays it safe, like, you can just allow your team to carry you this game.
They want Meteos right here. Final chapter goes down. It looks like OpTic's going to have to leave him for dead, and they do so rightly. Golden Guardians doing a nice job of not letting OpTic kind of stomp around in their house the whole game.
Yeah, that was a great pick, you know, utilizing Contractz there. Meteos comes in for the invade, but the rest of the squad is not super close behind him, so, you know, a little bit of a risky move, and Golden Guardians get a pick. That buys them some time, but here comes Big, so Golden Guardians is going to have to be really, really careful about this potential Nautilus engage.
They have so many options. They walk into a lane and they're like, yeah, that looks good. Let's go for it. You saw Arrow activate Adrenaline Rush. They have so many windows of opportunity, and GGS kind of has to find that right funnel to make it happen. Coming up on 20 minutes, though, Rift Herald's been taken off the map, so you have a minute in for your Baron. We'll see who can tempt that. Looks like OpTic may just keep onto these turrets and objectives to push the minions in.
Yep, and with that second mountain going to be spawning here in about a minute, OpTic already has one. You grab that second, Baron becomes that much more easy to actually secure. They are the ones that certainly have all the power on the map right now. And you know, Fiora wants to be delaying. Fiora wants to be in the side lane, you know, making this game go slow.
Wait for me.
If OpTic gets double mountain, they can just force Baron and make the Fiora group and teamfight them, which is really not where Hauntzer wants to be. So we'll see if Golden Guardians can manage to kind of navigate their way out of this.
See if they can maybe bait a TP as well. Hauntzer's here, which is good. He doesn't have TP, so they all have to kind of be as a team for the time being. Almost thought he was in a bad spot, but Meteos got himself out safe. Hauntzer is kind of being this personal wall between Dhokla and the river that Dhokla would have to pass. Their teleports are kind of matched and coming back up at the same time. Blast cone's taken out. Looks like we're going to get a 1v1 for a moment here. Dhokla's not going to want all of this, but good damage coming through. Hydra procced off for a bit of extra damage. Dhokla's going to be forced under his turret. Probably not ulting here, but he will not be able to participate with the team. His ult's up, but that teleport isn't. So they have to let this Drake go. GGS grabbing a bit of an advantage here. Who can get that Baron next? Mid lane's already being pushed.
Yeah, so Golden Guardians do actually take the Dragon away thanks to some pressure from Hauntzer in that 1v1, but at the same time, it wasn't as though OpTic was hard committed to trying to take it. They actually went and just took mid lane tier 2, so another tower does go down for them. They're trading the immediate power of that gold right now for kind of potential power of that Mountain Dragon. But if Golden Guardians can't actually make their way to any objectives, can't actually get control in those areas, then the Mountain Dragon doesn't do much for them, except just denying it from their opponents.
It starts to get scary when it's not just one thing that's being taken. You kind of bleed resources, it's a buff, it's then a turret after a kill. If it's just a kill, you can usually repair that and stop the bleeding, but here it's just OpTic taking more and more each time.
And you can see Dhokla is opting into a very defensive build. He knows he can't win this 1v1, so he's like, all right, time to build a little bit tanky. You know, he has the Bramble Vest, and I think it's a pretty smart option. You know, if you're going towards Death Dance, you're still not going to win. It's just about kind of gracefully losing the matchup at this point and hoping that the other members on your team are going to carry, because, you know, when you look down at the bottom side, that's where they spend all their time. Arrow is super strong. You don't need to be a star at every game, right? You can sit on the back foot and allow your team to close this one out while you try to play safe. And I think that's actually the smartest move that Dhokla can make.
Cleaning up into the mid lane, 175 stacks. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen there for Arrow. He's had a great Draven game so far, currently sitting at 10,000 gold to the 7,200 accrued by FBI. It becomes at that point impossible to try and even want to fight your lane opponent. Like you said, even for Dhokla, for FBI, you have to change the way you play. Your targets are almost different. Your positioning is much, much different now.
Yeah, you've got to be extremely careful, and that's tough when you're a short-range marksman who wants to get things done in the early mid game, right?
How do I play now? How do I play?
Well, you farm the minions and you try to run away from the Draven a lot. It's pretty much how you play. Here's Hauntzer working on that bottom lane turret, And
damage.
he's got to find opportunities to do this, right? He's got to find opportunities to play aggressive. He doesn't have vision actually protecting him, but it is a two-man Baron being snuck here. They went over the back of the wall. Golden Guardians has no idea that this is happening, and Meteos and Crown are just going to grab this.
Oh, amazing. 22.5 minutes in, one of the most times that Baron should be thought about. And it goes to the wayside in the minds of Golden Guardians, stolen away by OpTic, and what an advantage here.
Yeah, that was actually so smart from Meteos and Crown there. Golden Guardians had the Scuttle Crab, I do believe, so that kind of gave them that false sense of security, but Jarvan
Good call.
and the Azir just go over the back of the wall, and with that Mountain Dragon, Azir can kill it by himself. You know, Jarvan just needs to be there to actually tank the debuff so that Crown can continue to deal that damage. So a great move here from OpTic, and this is going to make it even harder now for Golden Guardians, as when Baron buff is on the other side, the split pusher is often forced to actually group up and try to defend. You don't really have the time anymore because it's so difficult to actually wave clear out these Baron buff minions.
Hot sale on pickaxes coming in for GGS. Oh, he sold it. Okay. He bought a second pickaxe, but Froggen's back. He's got his items now. Essence Reaver's there for him. He's just waiting on a little bit of gold. And now he can start the next ones. See where they go with this. Azale, OpTic's very strong, and if they keep this pace, it's going to be tough for GGS.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, he turned that second pickaxe into the Essence Reaver, so now he's going to be looking for Essence Reaver IE, a really heavily kind of poke-based scaling build here, and they're going in.
Onto Froggen, he's able to drag the depth charge quite a ways away to not affect the team. The turret's starting to take a bit of damage. That super cannon minion, or that Baron cannon minion is there. Nice Glacial Prison, slows down the attack of OpTic. And it looks like Sundisk will keep OpTic safe, but you're right, they have to think of what's going on the other side of the map as they lose a second-tier turret to Hauntzer.
Yeah, this is actually great from Golden Guardians. The fact that they were able to hold strong in that 4v5 despite the Baron buff and being so far behind in gold was really well done. They dropped pretty much all their ultimates there to try to do this, but that bought time for Hauntzer to take a turret, and it meant that Dhokla now had to go back to base, which opens the potential for Hauntzer to come over here.
You got to think, Azale, they used the Glacial Prison to deny the turret take last time. They don't, and they cannot afford that this time. And that goes down. The inhibitor is going to follow next, and 25 minutes in, OpTic has broken the base of Golden Guardians.
They have a Hauntzer here.
Look at
actually
this.
Going for the inhibitor tower.
And Dhokla can't fight him.
Yeah, Dhokla can't fight him, but he could actually get collapsed on. The rest of OpTic is running down here, so Dhokla needs to play this safe, buy time for the rest of his team.
This is where you need to play the stop the backs game, but rightly so, Golden Guardians doesn't want to just come chasing out of their base. Looks like Hauntzer's going to go on Mission Impossible here to see if he can get himself out. A Q is used, denied under the turret as he takes a few charge shots. Big's going to throw out the anchor toss, and they lock him down. But what can GGS do amongst this time? They have to make some moves. They have to clear the map. Arrow's even taking Drake still. So OpTic is picking more up as they're able to chase down Hauntzer.
Yeah, gonna get that shutdown on Hauntzer. Does go down eventually. I do still like the call from Golden Guardians because Fiora doesn't do anything in that situation trying to wave clear, right? So you have the 2 items on your Fiora, try to get it out to that side lane, try to make something happen. They look for the inhibitor trade, can't quite get it because of the disadvantage they're already in, but OpTic now in a great spot here, sitting so far ahead. They still have this Baron buff for a couple more seconds, may be able to actually walk up and take this tier 2 with it.
It's really an different OpTic team we're seeing this summer. Scarlet coming in for Crown. The team didn't even seem to kind of fall off the position of where they've been playing at such a high caliber. Crown's back in. They're right back into the same pace, and he's having a great game coming back here. So seeing OpTic synergize so well this split is awesome after kind of having so much turmoil throughout the previous one.
And this is really all you need to look at right now is the items on the 2 ADs.
It's crazy.
You hit tab if you're on Golden Guardians, you're going to close that real quick because that is not a pretty sight.
Don't look. Yeah, when the other AD carry can start buying the resources to mitigate your engages, then you know you're a bit behind. They can stop the damage and say, what can I buy to make it even harder for them to kill?
Yeah, I mean, he stopped for a QSS, he stopped for an Executioners, and he still has an IE ahead of you.
Yeah.
So that's going to feel pretty bad here. Arrow going to be in a position where, gets an auto or 2 off on Froggen or FBI or Huhi, and they're just dead or out of the fight completely. Crown has quietly scaled up very well here too. He's over 300 CS at 27 minutes, 3 items on the Azir. So their whole team looking very, very good. And you feel like you need something really big from Hauntzer in a side lane for them to stand a chance. If you can get a solo kill, maybe that buys you enough time, but barring that, it's going to be tough.
Crown Not in a good situation. I like Meteos going through the entire team. Gets about a 3 or 4 man knockup there and halts everything that was happening. Both members of OpTic, though, have taken quite a bit of damage, so they can't continue to pressure just yet. They have great forward vision, so breadcrumb wards so they can get themselves out safely. But a little bit of ground now here for GGS. They're chasing behind. They don't quite have a pincer, but they do have that track onto where OpTic is chasing Hauntzer. Hauntzer can give himself a little bit more time here by playing inside the base, and GGS is not going to do too much for themselves. Just keep safe with the rest of the team, as Hauntzer's calling that he'll be safe.
That was actually really well done from
He's
Hauntzer.
laughing on his screen. He's enjoying it. He loves the ring around the roses.
Yeah, I mean, able to survive there, pretty impressive. You can see Crown was a little bit hesitant to actually just slide straight into the face of Hauntzer, because Hauntzer could turn and look for the kill, so he wanted to play it slow, but they couldn't get the full surround on him. You know, because Hauntzer would win any of those potential 1v1s, they wanted to stay together as a squad, and as a result, Hauntzer survives, will continue this pressure. OpTic, though, they are going to be looking for the Baron. 15 seconds until that is up. I think they could very easily lose their inhibitor here, as Dhokla shouldn't be able to hold on. But Hauntzer doesn't know exactly where the rest of the opposing team is, and the 4v4 squad for Golden Guardians really has no chance of contesting at that Baron.
It's tough. You want to be able to blow Hauntzer's TP, right? But I don't think he's going to give it up just
There they go.
yet.
Contractz
They're fighting
looking.
each other. Dokla's in there. Baron's down to 600. Smite's going to be going over to Meteos. OpTic feels good about this fight so far. Damage on the Contractz is pretty good. Froggen's over the wall. There's a stopwatch to buy time, but that could be too much for the rest of the team. They need Froggen in the fight as well, and that's Arrow picking up 2 big kills. Shots over the wall from Froggen, but it's not going to be enough distance to get onto Crown. And man, OpTic pick up Baron once again to do more damage to GGS.
And that could be the end of the game potentially here. They're actually looking to pick off Huhi, and they're just marching it down mid lane, keeping in.
Huhi on the ultimate roam there. He goes down as he is found out. And that's going to be a kill for Dhokla. They're going to be in front of the base with Arrow and Crown, moving in with that super minion and the Baroned up wave. It's Hauntzer and Froggen on defense.
Yeah, they got to make something crazy happen here. Baroned up minion waves. They're trying to buy time. FBI and Contractz will be up soon, but will it be cooking up?
Oh my word, the damage on the turrets. I don't think it's going to be enough, Azale. They can still keep it sub 30 if they keep this damage onto the structures. 29:50 on the clock. Here comes the defense. The cavalry has arrived from the fountain, and Froggen's going to fire in the missiles. And on the exit, they take the inhibitor down, but it almost looks like they want to turn for the fight. Meteos just gets himself alive with a flag and drag. The stopwatch for Dhokla stays there. Blast forward, and not even 3 want to take on Arrow inside the base. Just behind him is Crown, and they are ready to go to town on the Nexus. That's the hook coming in. They take down Contractz. They're signing off on this one, baby. Hauntzer's gonna be next, and that's Huhi. Where's he going on this? He's looking to run out. The hills are that way, buddy. Huhi goes down as a triple kill for Crown comes in, and he says, "King me," as OpTic are gonna tie the top of the table with a win over Golden Guardians.
6-3 for OpTic, as Arrow has an absolute pop-off game here on the Draven. So ridiculously strong and able to close this one out. That troll and hit respawning bought Golden Guardians a little bit of time, but too little too late, as they were so far behind in that bottom lane. Draven absolutely massive and really could not be stopped.
There was a pace set by OpTic right in the beginning. Meteos said, "I'm stealing all the buffs." Red to red. Got back into his jungle, got blue right out to the lanes. They focused a bit of topside. Hauntzer, beautiful job on Golden Guardian side at absorbing pressure and keeping a lane that kept Golden Guardians in the game much longer than they should have been.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, Hauntzer was out to a great lead in that side lane, but the rest of the map had kind of already fallen apart a little bit. They were very far behind, so it became difficult to buy enough time. You know, they didn't really have the wave or the power to actually buy time for him to split push out a victory. But I've also got to give so much credit to Meteos. I feel like his 2 counter ganks in the bottom lane just actually decided that game, because that's what got Arrow going. If he's not there, their bottom lane dies, the Draven gets way behind, and the game is flipped.
So seeing where teams are coming in now, knowing a bot lane has changed, a duo is quite a bit to change. That's 2 people now having different communication with the team. We have seen teams attack that bot lane, and again, it happened here. FBI and Huhi's jobs were made very hard. No kind of discredit to them, if you will. That was a tough lane to play against, always being pressured.
Yeah, it really was. And I mean, they tried to go aggressive into it, right? They're the ones looking for those plays with Contractz, so they certainly weren't afraid to look for those aggressive aggressive plays, but Meteos was there both times when it mattered. Turn around those plays, Arrow got fed.
Good old king of the jungle back at it. For more on that win, Pastry is standing by with OpTic's Jungler. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Riv. I am here with Meteos. Great game back for OpTic here in the LCS. What did you guys even do kind of with the week with Rift Rivals being on last week?
Well, we had a lot of time to practice new things, and it was, we had some up and down practice. Some days were good, some days were bad, but I feel like toward the end of it, like coming into this weekend, we seem to have kind of found something that we're all happy with, like a play style we want to play, and it feels like we're a lot more synchronized on what we're trying to do. It's still not perfect, but I feel like the practice went a long way during the break.
And of course, that is to the tune of now being tied in a four-way tie for first place here in the LCS. Coming into the season, were you expecting that about halfway through you guys would be in first place?
I didn't really have any expectations. It's not, super out of the question. I didn't expect to be last or anything like that. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter that much. The season is just like you only play each team twice, so sometimes the standings can be kind of misleading depending on who you've played so far. But basically, we're just using the season to get ready for playoffs because we'd really love to make it to Worlds.
And then, of course, given that you are now tied with 3 other teams for that first place position, and you're, of course, looking to make a good run into playoffs, how would you compare OpTic to the rest of those teams in first place, so TSM, Cloud9, and Liquid?
I think that those teams are all really strong, but I think we're pretty good too. And hopefully by the time playoffs comes around, we can beat them.
Certainly looking like it after games like that. Congratulations on your win today. Thank you very much for chatting with me. We are going to throw it back now to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. I think OpTic's pretty good, too, if I do say so myself. Picking up that victory with Crown back in the lineup. Again, we knew he was out for sickness and Scarlet was in, but slotting back in here and picking up a solid victory over the Golden Guardians.
This was indeed better jungler wins this game because Meteos, not only was he there for 2 crucial counter ganks for the Draven lane, but then gets a Baron sneak on top of it all. Listen, if you get Baron snuck every time, I don't care what you say. It's the jungler's responsibility to make sure that that doesn't happen, and it did. So it's Meteos v Contractz. He was the victor.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think for the side of Golden Guardians, they kind of early took this powerful bot lane like Yuumi Lucian. Then they get countered out by the Draven Nautilus, and so they want to go bot lane a lot, but they also have a Fiora into Aatrox on the top side, which is another place that Contractz could have gone. And when you start looking at what happens in-game, it starts being a big problem. You have 2 really aggressive bot lanes that can snowball really hard, or if Draven gets shut down, he's not very strong. So I can understand sending pressure down there early, but like Crumbs
Initially.
I like the first attempt.
Right, I think that's the key. If we roll through some of these bot lane plays as well, you'll see exactly that. There is that opportunity for Golden Guardians to perhaps, snuff out the bot lane for OpTic on the first
stacks
go.
off of him. This is all a great idea, but unfortunately, just barely, this ultimate's going to go wide. That last second
Huge
step up
knockup
by Arrow saved him as well as, like Crumbs was saying, perfect counter gank by Meteos to keep him alive during this.
Really good timing of Big's ultimate as well, because otherwise Lucian would have gotten the autos off to take down Arrow, prevent him from dealing the damage. But once again, and this is where you're already way too fed.
Yeah, you're
the Draven has a BT completed. He's a level up.
You walked over a ward to get to this gank, so that counter was perfectly set up.
And why not, instead of using all that effort, to go into the strongest lane that your opponents have, to go to your strongest point? The Fiora was crushing Aatrox all game long. If you tower dive that Aatrox, he's suddenly useless for the rest of the game. Instead of going down there, bringing the Fiora and the Aatrox together, Aatrox is gonna be stronger than Fiora in that team fight. So Golden Guardians is just not playing to the win condition, and it is way too many times that this continues to happen for them because it's very obvious where they are. They just don't do it.
Yeah, it's really surprising because if they had like one back-breaking play in the top lane, that it's probably over because this whole game was still difficult. Yeah, great counter ganks by Meteos. They built a nice 3K gold lead, but it stalled out for a really long time. And so you could tell, like, ooh, if they just had a little bit more split push pressure, if they could actually just solo kill that Aatrox with the Fiora, suddenly it would be such a different game, but they never gave Hauntzer the attention he needed to do that.
All right, the initial gank, good, even though it was turned on you. The second one is overzealous, and you're almost trying to work against something so great when you have another option available to you in the top lane. Next up, though, I want to talk about how FBI and Huhi did in the bot lane, because, of course, as we know, this was their first time on the LCS stage together in comparison to Deathly and Olay.
I think Obviously, this is a lot of speculation, but when you have a new bottom lane, you obviously are going to be very vocal about the resources that you want, and I think that might have contributed to the fact that the second gank went to the bottom lane as opposed to going to the top side of the map. You've got new players, you want to make sure that they're feeling comfortable, so you go to the bottom lane instead of going to the top lane. So when it comes to the overall playstyle, I honestly couldn't tell a difference if it was Deftly or Olay this game because the same issues that Golden Guardians have continue to happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a more aggressive bot lane than we would have seen, but definitely plays Draven himself. You know, he can play aggressive champion, so it's hard to say. Yuumi,
mechanically, did you notice a difference?
It was tough because a lot of it was about the counter ganks whenever we were looking at the bot lane, and it's hard to outplay those. So I didn't feel like it was super different, but this was definitely a game that felt more jungler dependent than how the bot lane mechanics were playing.
Right. Very early on, I think it was around level 5, there was an all-in 2v2, and FBI did have a little fancy feat dodging out one of the Nautilus hooks. That would have killed him in the end. If anything, hey, great under pressure and on the bigger stage. Mechanically, he could still make the right play. To your guys' point, with so much attention down there, to me, the bigger takeaways are more about how the team opted to play around the bot lane when they came in, when they were subbed in, and in a sense, foregoing the possible win condition that was laid out for them in the top lane. Mark, you also mentioned that the game did stall out. Not only did we have a Baron sneak, we actually end up with one more Baron fight before the end of the game. And so even with all of these amounted gold advantages for OpTic, it still took a little bit of work to close it out.
Yep, started up on spawn, but you have Contractz coming in with the Yuumi. They're poking out big. Froggen is getting a lot of good damage in here, and a bad ultimate actually by Crown kind of sets them up to potentially find these kills, but instead of focusing on the pit, you have Froggen kind of flashing over on Crown, who with the Zanya is able to stall this out long enough, and Arrow is able to clean up those kills. I was really surprised they didn't focus the people in the pit, and I have to wonder if that was a mistake by Froggen there.
Crown didn't even die. He was able to blast Cone out on the other side, so all that wasted effort.
You know what would have helped it? Pressing tab and noticing that there was a Zanya's in there.
Exactly that.
Still happens.
Hey, hitting tab is one of the most powerful key presses you can make. I mean, a game of competitive League of Legends. Either way, I do want to talk about OpTic kind of in the grander sense, because so often when we look at Worlds prospects, playoff and Worlds prospects, the first 3 teams we talk about are TL, Cloud9, TSM. And in this case, we hear from Meteos that he does believe that they can challenge against the top. Their record says exactly the same thing. And even we, before hopping on camera here, we're kind of spitballing around. Well, if you're not sending one of those 3 top teams to Worlds, who do you choose to slot in behind them? OpTic is definitely one of those names you're considering.
I think it's basically
2 teams, right?
CLG and OpTic.
Yep,
yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Read my mind. We finish each other's sandwiches.
Yes, beautiful. We're stealing jokes from Disney movies. Clutch Counter Logic Gaming face off for Game 5 to wrap up the day. We'll see you here for that matchup after the break.
What movie is that?
It's from Frozen.
It's a song.
Mina, can you say something?
Say something. Something up on you.
Final chapter's just gonna miss. Arrow's out of range, but he's walking into it, but he dodges the glacial prison as well. So much left and right. The Comet, he doesn't die. And the fight back onto GGS is going well in the way of OpTic. That's gonna be all of GGS falling to the bot lane.
Lucian, no sun. Lucian. Shut down there. Stand out there. Watch Fiora. Look Fiora.
Flag and drag, and the stopwatch for Dhokla stays there. Blast forward, and not even 3 want to take on Arrow inside the base. Just behind him is Crown, and they are ready to go to town on the Nexus.
Yeah, had a pretty big fender bender here.
State Farm's got you covered, Mike.
That's great to hear, Robin. Everybody remain